All right, guys. Well, this week I'm titling this week's lesson in Daniel 2, a different future. Give you a little bit of an overview. The reality is that, um, when I read the second chapter of Daniel, one of the things that I realize is that God's sovereignty and revelation, you see it all over this chapter, right? The chapter highlights God's sovereignty in revealing mysteries and future events. And he does it, of all things, through a dream to King Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar's dream, which none of his musicians could interpret, was revealed to Daniel by God. That's amazing to me. This dream depicted a statue made of various metals, and those metals symbolizes successive world empires and foretold of the ultimate establishment of God's eternal kingdom. So each one of those pieces of armor, each one of those pieces of that statue, all of them represented a different government that would come in and take over. And as I'm reading through Daniel 2, one of the things that I realize is Daniel's faith and wisdom. I mean, think about this. You have been taken captive into a foreign country. For 3 years now, you have been forced to learn all of this language and culture that you didn't ask for, right? And so God gives you the ability to excel. He gives you grace and favor with your captors. And then this king has this dream. You're minding your own business one day, and this king loses it on all his witchcraft people, right? All the people who are fortune tellers and dealing in the occult, and he loses it on them. And then he says, we're going to kill them all. Well, guess what? Now your life's in jeopardy. You didn't ask for this. You didn't ask to be put in this situation. And now your life is in jeopardy. So what I see when I think about that is I saw his Daniel's faith and his wisdom. I mean, Daniel's response to the crisis, I mean, what it really demonstrates is his faith and his reliance on God. I mean, of all the things you could do, you could plan an escape. You could try to get some weapons and defend yourself. But when he was faced with the decree to execute all the wise men, including himself, Daniel calmly sought time from the king, and he prayed with his friends. And he prayed for God's divine insight. He used wisdom and he used discretion in handling a situation, and that earned him favor and demonstrated the power of prayer and faithfulness. Think about how you might have responded if you would have heard, hey, they're getting ready to take all of our lives, all because the king had a dream and he doesn't rely on all the people that are supposed to be his magicians and his fortune tellers and all of his counselors. He's lost it on them, and he's gonna kill them all because he doesn't trust them. And now I'm part of that all. I mean, Daniel just faithfully seeks time, and he literally gets his friends together and they pray, and they just pray, and they trust God. That's amazing to me. I think about the second chapter, and I think about the prophecy of world empires that are coming. Like when you read that prophecy, the dream's interpretation, it provided a prophetic overview of the future world empires that would be taking over in place of King Nebuchadnezzar, right? And so what did that look like, right? Well, starting with Babylon, in the dream, he saw a head of gold. Well, that head of gold was Babylon, right? That represented Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom itself. But then the next thing he saw was followed by the silver, and that was the Persian Empire that would be coming in. And then after that, you see a kingdom of bronze. That's Greece. And then Rome is iron. And then the final kingdom represented by stone, and not that wasn't cut by any man's hands, and clay, that symbolizes God's kingdom that will reign forever. So the prophecy, the dream, was actually a prophecy. And one of the ways that God speaks to people in the Old Testament was through dreams and visions, right? Dreams happened when they were asleep. Visions would happen when they were awake. And so God would reveal. And God is now revealing to this evil king, guess what? Your future isn't what you thought it was going to be, right? And you know what that is? That is a reminder for King Nebuchadnezzar that he's not God. Now, think about this. This dude had everybody worshiping him. He had everybody wanting to bow down to him. He wanted them all, bow down to me. We're going to read that in later chapters. He is, whatever his hand touches, he conquers and he takes control of. And, he gets this ego trip going on, right? He gets an ego trip. And this dream is a reminder, Nebuchadnezzar, that you are not God, that there is one true God and it ain't you, right? And that's what Satan does, right? He deceives people in power. This happens regularly, right? He deceives them with the amount of power that they actually have. People think they have way more power than they actually have. And here's the reality. The Bible teaches us explicitly in Romans 13 that all power and authority is given by God himself, that he would literally raise up evil kings for his own purposes. And usually it's to bring them topple. It's to discipline his children. And then ultimately, when the discipline is over, what he's going to do, he's going to topple that government and he's going to display to the world, look how powerful the nation of Israel's God is. Look how powerful Yahweh is. So a takeaway I had from the second chapter is that all power and authority is really given by God, and no one but God has complete authority over the future. There's no one that can outdo him. We see this in politics. We see the fact that people think in politics they have way more power than they can, and then they get voted out, they get removed, they get indicted, they get arrested, they get prosecuted, right? You see it in politics all the time. You even see this to some degree in churches, in church leadership. Sometimes guys will get a title and they'll get, maybe it's pastor or elder or minister or whatever it is, and they'll start thinking because they have people under them that they're a little bit more special than what they really are. And here's the truth: all authority is established by God, and it can be removed at any time by God. We are all replaceable, guys. We're all replaceable. So some of my applications for tonight's study and the takeaway from Daniel 2 was this: that we need to trust in divine guidance, right? That when tragedy comes, when something that really looks like it might be the end is, and you're staring it in the face, you need to trust in God's guidance. Just as Daniel relied on God for wisdom and revelation in a time of crisis, we can apply that lesson by seeking God's guidance in our own lives. Angie did this when I had the ruptured brain aneurysm. I mean, she's done a lot more than that. Angie did this in the ruptured brain aneurysm. We're doing this in our son's health. He's disabled now, got his leg bit by a canine police dog as he's a police officer several years ago. He's living with constant pain. We're praying for healing. We're praying for restoration there. We're trusting in God's guidance and wisdom there. So like Daniel, we should rely on God's wisdom and his revelation. He'll tell us what he wants us to do. Another takeaway is, in uncertain situations, turning to prayer and trusting in God's plan can provide clarity and peace, knowing that he is in control of everything. Don't forget this. When your life seems to be falling apart, God is in control. He really is. He loves you. He's on your side, and he is absolutely in control. The third and final takeaway I have from Daniel 2 is this teaches me to rely not only on our understanding, but on divine wisdom for navigating life's challenges. There are going to be things in life that are way too complex for us. There's no way Daniel could have went to his room, recalled a dream that someone else had and never told anybody what it was. So Daniel literally gets his friends together. They go and seek the king and they say, give us some time. We'll tell you what your dream is and the interpretation of it, which I find that's only God, right? Only God could show me what somebody else has dreamed when they haven't told a soul, and then gives me the interpretation of it. So, one of the things that we just have to realize, and we have to get this down in our spirit. One, God is in control. Two, I shouldn't freak out in every moment. And finally, three, I got to trust in his wisdom and his navigation, his life, as he helps me navigate all of life's challenges. So hopefully Daniel is a great read for you. And all you have to do is go to the redemptionnow.com website. Feel free to grab any plan. If you click under the, let me look and see and make sure I'm giving you the right directions here. But if you go to redemptionnow.com and you were to literally click the grow button on our top of our webpage, and you're going to go down and click Bible, it is going to take you to a page where there are so many Bible studies that, and they're being added every month, that you can dive in. So don't lose the reading rhythm, right? And just know this, you can always go to my personal YouTube channel. You can click Daniel, and tonight's episode will take out all the prayer time, all the announcements, just the teaching time. It'll be up in about 15 minutes afterwards. Feel free to go back. We're going to teach through the entire book of Daniel. Short takeaways, short thoughts on it. It's definitely not an exhaustive study of the book of Daniel, but it's here to help you. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. I'm enjoying reading through the book of Daniel.